Hey, we're live on the internet.
Hello.
What's going on?
Sorry, Internet.
Sorry, internet. Thanks, Mark.
We apologize.
Welcome to SonarFeed episode 289, live from the Berliner Pub in downtown Renton.
4th of May.
Nice. This is clearly the biggest soccer game in history, right? Otherwise known as Seattle invented killing soccer. Also, well, whatever. We could go on forever. So we are here tonight with special guest Matt Pentz from The Athletic.
Woo!
Your other co-host here tonight is Mickey Turner.
Also from the Athletic.
Yeah.
From the Athletic, from Sounder at Heart, from Soccer ESQ. What other things are you doing?
I think that's about it.
Yeah, this week.
Yeah. Twitter.com, yes.
Also from Twitter.com, thetwitter.com. I hate that website. And by hate, I mean love it.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to it by a lot. And I'm Tom Biro. I think I'm on Twitter. Am I still on Twitter?
I've seen
Was
some
I
stuff.
banned? Not yet. Anyway, so what should we talk about tonight?
Slow week.
Yeah. Not much going on.
LAFC Atlanta United.
Yeah. No, we're not going to do that.
Is that like an alternate? LAFC at Atlanta United was the suggestion from Mark. I won't even tell you which Mark. You know already. They should play. Just for fun, for third place.
MLS would totally do that
Yes.
just for this
MLS
specific
would
year.
be in.
Yes.
In fact, they'd play home and home, just to maximize some.
They'd
ticket
run
sales,
it simultaneously on on big ESPN.
That sounds amazing. So there's this MLS Cup thing that's happening, which was, as the odds go, the least likely version, I think,
The least
of
desired
this
version.
particular, from a television standpoint. We
Yeah.
did talk about this last week. So kind of nuts. I don't know if I expected this to happen at all. Even in April, May, when Sounders were cruising for a hot minute, you were like, whatever. LAFC's killing people. Just like running around the league stabbing other teams.
Well, of course, the Sounders went down there and lost in that April game and got killed. They weren't at full strength, but LAFC still ran them off the pitch. And so at that point, LAFC pretty much just ran away with the league. And
How'd that work out?
It didn't, thanks to MLS playoffs. Of course, the Sounders have been the victims of that before, so what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as they say. So
Yeah, and it was
Do
even.
they say that?
It was even unlikely as of Wednesday night at about 7:00.
Yeah.
It just even to have Toronto come through in the way that they did seemed highly unlikely.
Yeah.
Right up until they scored that second goal.
Other things that are highly unlikely. The amount of cheering at Fuel after that second goal. It may have been the most opposition team cheering I've ever heard in a sports bar in my entire life. Like total. Like if you added it all up.
yeah,
It
how,
wouldn't have
how,
been.
how was the crowd at Fuel for that
It was
game?
pretty good. I'd say there was 25-ish people there, and there was, World Series on that night as
Yeah,
well?
Game
Yeah.
7.
World Series folks were not happy.
Was the sound on?
I don't even remember. It doesn't even matter.
That is true.
There are
Uh,
people there.
Yeah, like, whatever. So, it was a good time.
Yeah, I just remember the 2016 when Montreal and Toronto were playing the second leg of that series,
Which was an incredible series.
it's one of my favorite series I've ever seen. Montreal was up 3-0 in the first leg, and then gave up 2 goals, and then they,
And then it was just anarchy for the entire second
Yeah,
half, and
it
it
was
flipped
pretty-
back and forth like 4 different times.
it was. I mean, that game was just absolutely nuts. It goes to extra time, and Toronto pulls it out then. But super fun game just to watch. Unfortunately, the Sounders had to go on the road for that one. But this time around, and the first 15-20 minutes of that Atlanta-Toronto game, Toronto looked like they were going to get blown out. They give up at a goal in like the first 5 minutes, and then
That was rough.
And
the
then,
penalty,
yeah.
the penalty call, which was, I don't even know if that was really a penalty. Like looking at the replay, it was like eh.
Yeah,
But-
so I had been coming back from LA. I was flying back, took the light rail home, I hit everything right and got home to walk in the door while Joseph was lining up the penalty kick to go up 2-0. I'm like, man, I already missed the entire game.
Yeah.
You're like, well, gotta go home now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I tweeted this. Well, this game is over.
Yeah.
And
The
that
bar
tweet did
was
not
a
age.
little down
Yes.
in that moment.
But I mean,
By the way, Hunch Bunch suggests that we make them play the match in Seattle during MLS Cup halftime, which is actually like a really good shit post.
Yeah.
I'm here for this. If I could like posts in the YouTube chat, I would definitely like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh shit. Bubble soccer?
This is
This is devolved, and we've been on the air 4 minutes and 58 seconds. So cool.
We would really kill soccer then.
soccer has died here.
Is it more killing soccer though than if Justin Bieber actually did?
Oh my gosh. Did you hear this?
No.
Where did that even
There's a
come
rumor
from?
that Bieber was
Totally
in the
serious.
halftime show for MLS Cup.
Really?
I'm not sure where it came from. Do you know where this? Oh.
So
So it came from it came from just some random person.
Did it actually come from
So-
Jerry?
Roommate, I should say.
I don't know if that's really a theory.
Yes, it is not. It's
It would be
basically
more,
pulling something out.
it
of
would
your
be an
ass.
unsubstantiated rumor,
Yes.
I think, is what that would be defined
Can
as.
there be
Yeah.
something less than unsubstantiated?
Who doesn't
Yeah.
love unsubstantiated rumors?
Journalists,
MLS.
typically.
Yes.
So what
But
you're
then
saying
you
is
were tweet-
not columnists.
Yeah.
Columnists like unsubstantiated rumors. Journalists don't.
Yeah, I don't think we want to get into this.
So we
this early.
slice
Yeah.
there.
That's-
Okay, good. Good clarity. So what you're saying is you don't believe your roommate, is what you're saying, Mickey Turner.
I do not. I
Okay.
do not. So,
Nice.
we're completely off track. But so yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's been 6 minutes and
Yeah.
we're completely
So-
off
so
track.
host,
So
get it-
SonarFeed.
Is there like an outline here that we're going to
Is
hit?
there an
or-
outline? Yeah, I mean, let's start with
LAFC.
playing at LAFC.
Yes.
We were of the opinion that the Sounders actually had a pretty good chance to win that match. Just really on their own run of form. LAFC's previous month and a half, irrelevant of them having blown people out or not. Frankly, like going out on the Galaxy and having a barn burner of a match probably helped at the end of the day. But I guess it really should be surprising to all of us that Sounders were able to take them down.
It was surprising to me, for the record. Just I think based on the fact that like they had to play almost the perfect game,
Yeah.
and they did, which it almost gives them less credit than they deserve to be like, oh, like some people kind of saw this coming. Like that LAFC team was incredible, and no one had beaten them at home, taking the game to them at all. If you looked at their results, and really all of their losses were teams that had just bunkered entirely and got lucky with a couple different goals like Minnesota did.
Yeah.
Like no. I don't think they were scared.
What was it
'Cause,
again?
well,
The
that was
Sounders
part of-
had to play like the inferior team? Shut the fuck up.
Which they didn't, and I think that's just credit. They were the only team to go in there all year and take it to them in the way that they did, which is credit.
Because
I
like you
think,
said,
to the-
Minnesota basically, Mason Toy had 2 great goals. He had
Yeah.
a great game, so nothing away from him. But they only had like 25% possession in that game.
Yeah,
And then the Timbers in the Open Cup basically countered them to death.
yeah, and they lost like at Colorado in a
Yeah.
very similar game. Like they had not lost to a team that really stood them toe to toe all year.
So not just like how good Rui Diaz is as a player, do you think them having not seen him in a Sounders lineup total in the 4 times they had played?
Yeah, 2 times
was
last
as
year.
big of a factor?
Yeah, one of those times they hadn't signed him yet.
Or was
Yeah.
it just Sounders came in with their ideal 11 that they could have at this point?
I think it made a difference because I just think if you look at his movement really gave them trouble. Even when the ball wasn't near him, like he was just like finding these little pockets and he was making runs, and you could just tell that they were never comfortable with him. And part of it was probably that they had never seen him and they didn't know his game, and I do think
Like
it made
that
a
does
difference.
feel like a factor.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I just thought that, again, as you said, they hadn't seen him before, but you can mitigate a little bit of that with just through scouting and video, but you can't obviously approximate it on the field. And I'm not sure if they were prepared for him to be as defensively active as he was in that game. He coming back, taking the ball off Twesta a couple of times, and just he was not as active as Nico, but did a nice imitation of him from the forward position, and I think Arriaga, that has to be the other thing that is the key thing when he got the call on that shoulder-to-shoulder tackle on Vela in the penalty box, and it was Marufa was the referee, right? He just gave him the elbow sign. He's like, it was like, the shrug was pretty hilarious. But at that point, you knew that he wasn't going to be calling anything that was kind of 50-50.
Yeah.
And he wasn't giving the attacker the benefit of the doubt, essentially. And it was just, at that point, Vela really didn't do anything else for the rest of the
then
game.
He got leveled again.
Yes.
At a certain point.
Yes,
going
that's
for a
true.
header.
That's true. I'm in minority opinion, I guess. I didn't think that was a penalty.
No, I didn't think that it was
as
either.
well. And he basically had the one great play where he kind of, swerved through the Sounders defense and won the free kick, which is where they got the goal from. But aside from that, he really didn't do anything all game. And so they just it was impressive how they neutralized him, which was really unexpected as far as I could, as far as I was thinking. I didn't think they'd be able to do that.
Yeah, and Arriaga, I thought, it's funny because he does not have the reputation as being a particularly physical guy.
Yeah.
Sort of his rep had been sort of the finesse of the three center backs.
Good passing out of the back,
Yeah,
good with the
and
ball.
he just so that was a real surprise that I
Yeah.
don't think anyone could have really seen coming in, him being that physical, him being that imposing. So that was, and again, I just think that they had standout performances literally everywhere. But if you had to put like a top three on it, he would have been in there.
Yeah, and it kind of reminded me of Roman in the 2016 final against Josie. He was bodying
Who?
Josie, Josie Altador.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
And Torres was bodying him up, gave him a couple of fouls, and was just basically, aside from the header that Fry obviously had a decent play on. Aside from that, Altador was relatively anonymous in that game as well. So it was just a very impressive performance. And if he's going to get, Torres should be back for the final. So I don't know what you think is how Smetcher going to go with that when he's got that decision to make, because it will have, Torres did play. How many minutes did he play in the LAFC game? Like 10 maybe?
Yeah, not a lot. And I know he's still hurting.
Yeah.
So we'll see. To build off Tom's little bit of shade that he was already trying to throw over there. I do think that Josie...
I don't know what you mean.
I think that Josie being out will have an impact on their selection. It makes it tougher, because I think that if Josie plays, you almost have to start Roman. Because it's one thing for Arriaga to body up Carlos Vela and to be as physical as he was in that way. It's another thing. They've really struggled without Torres to deal with sort of the bigger guys. Like Ibrahimovic killed them. I just think that if Josie were playing, you probably have to go with Roman. And if he doesn't, and Pozuelo is starting as the false nine, similarly to Vela, probably you just run it back and use Roman later on if you need to.
That makes sense to me. And I guess we can talk a little bit about Altador apparently being out, saying that he would need a miracle to
It's
play.
a miracle.
I mean,
No one's ever seen this strategy before.
Yeah. I don't know what you guys think. I would tend to believe it as much as you can believe anything that people say leading up to the game.
Yeah, the phrasing was a little bit. It seemed a little bit rehearsed in a way that seems a little fishy, but I don't. If he would have been even close, you would think he would have been on the bench for the game against Atlanta.
For sure.
So if he didn't play that game, you would think that he would at least be limited. So I tend to believe that's probably right. Yeah.
I mean, maybe he makes 18, but I would tend to take that at face value. Even though that might bite us in the ass later. But.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I'm worried about him. Like, not to be overly confident, but hasn't exactly played in a minute. Hasn't played for the national team in a minute. Even when he's been semi-healthy, he doesn't appear to be like a priority for either team that he's a part of. It's not that he hasn't played at all, but
Yeah.
he just hasn't seemed to be like the focus at that position for a while.
Yeah, I just think that he's like the profile of the forward that has given the Sounders trouble.
For sure.
Maybe not Josie specifically, but just like
Well,
the big, strong.
Well, again,
he
he's
did
in the
score
18.
2 goals against
Right.
Marshall in the game that they won in April.
He's
so
in the
he-
18. You're going to do something different that
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
You know, because it was like when Dempsey was the super sub for Sounders, teams were like, oh, shit, you're going to bring in Clint Dempsey in the 71st minute? What do I do with that?
Yeah.
You know, heaven forbid you have to sub somebody out that he's dangerous against. No, I agree. It's not like he doesn't have any ability at all. I mean, it's kind of like BWP on Red Bulls. Like, dude would show up every so often the last couple of years, and you're like, I don't want to play against that.
Yeah.
You know? Because he would just muscle straight through you.
Yeah.
So,
And I do think it kind of takes away like one of the most compelling narratives, I think, if both teams were at full strength, would be Josie versus Fry for a third time. Whereas
Yeah.
in the first, I think the trilogy thing is going to become incredibly played out by
Yeah.
like, Thursday.
By
But I think
Thursday,
that-
Thursday
you're-
seems really optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm
But I
going to
just
go
think that, like-
tomorrow at noon.
Yeah.
So-
But those two specifically, Fry having that great save in the first game, Josie scoring the opening goal in the second game, kind of the way that those guys seem to sort of bring out the best in each other, that would have been really interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Aussie
Wow.
style.
Yeah.
There's a joke about
it's his
cortisone
quad,
shots.
right? Is that?
I believe that's correct.
So it seems like it's a fairly nasty injury. Obviously, he's been out for over a month, so we'll see what happens. Anything else on LAFC? I
Bob?
guess- yeah, Bob.
Are we all feeling better than Bob right now?
Yes.
Like, how's that going? The fact that there's shirts is one of the better things about the internet. People are like, oh, I'm going to make this shirt
Yeah.
right now. Thanks, Brian. Brian is like the most sort of on the DL shit talker. Because he's like, I'm trash talking, but you're going to think that I'm just giving a random comment to the media.
Oh, I thought it was trash.
But I'm definitely shit talking. Maybe not that, but I'm saying in
Yes,
general,
yes, yeah.
like he makes comments and you're like, you're being a dick.
Yeah, I can't remember another comment he's made that would approach.
That was
The ama-
that.
That was
Yes.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And it was pretty overt too.
Yeah.
Well, because not to like tease a story that's coming out, but I'm working on something for The Athletic later in the week that's about kind of how Brian seems to have been feeling himself a little bit more. I think that he just.
Yes, we're not doing phrasing anymore.
I just think that the narrative is just
I'm
kind
going to
of
switch
been
to
that he
water
is-
for the rest of the show. Tell me more about this.
I think they're just kind of like the narrative of him being like the feel good, like local nice guy. Like it's a little patronizing after a while, like based off of all that he's done. Like it's a genuine narrative to some degree, but I do think it sort of undervalues the level of coach that he is.
I mean, that's only been the story for what, 20 years?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And I think that at a certain point, it has started to grate on him in a way
Yeah.
that he probably wouldn't admit. But I think that you saw in that interview.
Yeah,
Because I
it kind of
think
came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
really, because that was before they had that animated conversation on the sideline, because they hadn't done the trophy presentation yet. So I was just wondering what brought that out of him to say that in that moment.
Yeah.
Maybe they were jawing at each other on the sidelines during the game, and he was just kind of.
well,
fed
I
up.
mean, it was after the
Yes.
handshake, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible that he threw in an early jab,
Yeah.
and then Schmetzer was responding to that.
Yeah,
But-
absolutely.
But yeah, I think that that's an interesting sort of element to this game. Is just sort of Schmetzer maybe finally starting to get his due as a genuine top level coach, and I think that it all kind of fits into him being a little bit sort of feistier this playoffs. He's been like even like some of his press conferences earlier in the playoffs. He was like a little combative, like just a little bit more aggressive and competitive in a way that he hadn't been before.
Yeah, I look forward to reading it, and I totally agree. It's just just an interesting thing to kind of see evolve in his character. It's just not there, and I guess he gets feisty with us when we're asking him questions on occasion. But,
Yeah.
nothing on the level of a Bob Bradley telling he doesn't tell us to get lost or
Yeah.
The
Like, it's
best
not a
part about that
practice.
whole thing was when he walked away, they followed him down the field with the camera, and he just kept turning around like super pissed off.
Oh, he was going to go back to go get some more of Seb Salazar. I think him contemplating going back to like tear him a new one was the best part of that.
Yeah.
Probably better than to get lost for my
Yeah.
for my money.
It was pretty. That was pretty good. That was actually good TV.
Yeah, it was great. Contributed to that game. Not to get too far off topic, but it was the most watched MLS playoff game or even MLS game I think in like 20 years.
Yeah, greatest game of all time.
Yeah. Yes. Until Sunday, obviously. Clearly.
Yeah.
It was just it was high drama, high entertainment, and it was good to see a little of that spill over into the Sounders game against LAFC.
Well, I think they had a good 5 days in LA, right? 'Cause they had the LA teams, and then the NBA LA teams,
Yeah.
and then this match. For a city where their sports fans are actually trash and barely actually attend things on a regular, if they can even show up or not leave early, good
Yeah,
job.
I was the beneficiary of that. I got to go to the Clippers game on Monday, and tickets to get in the door were $4.
What?
On game time?
What?
We ended up getting lower level for $40 for what may be the NBA champion. It was pretty great.
Wow.
Good job. I mean, it's probably not going to be that team from the Bay Area at this point.
No, it certainly
Yeah.
doesn't look like it.
They seem bad. I don't know. We could probably talk about this match for a while. We could move on a little bit to that next 24 hours because I think at that moment people were buying flights to Atlanta en masse, which was pretty nuts. Everyone's like, either I have 75K or gold, or I have 24-hour window and I'm just going to float the money, or. So there are a lot of refunds that were cashed in a day or so later that I had heard. There was a pretty good opportunity for Sounders fans to be able to go to Atlanta. Pretty good size section down there. I think the attention that we've seen for MLS Cup at home was, I don't want to say equal, but it was pretty significant for people to go to Atlanta. Maybe partially because there were a lot of people who did have Monday off for Veterans Day.
Yeah.
The flights were originally not terrible. You could fly Frontier or something with some absurd layovers and whatnot for like $250. Yeah. 2 hours in Denver on Frontier is still more hours than anyone should spend.
The frontier part
It's
is
true.
the bigger part of that equation.
Yes.
Safari.
I could make the Frontier joke, but it's already made itself.
Yeah.
We can just move on. But what was interesting was to see the volume of people who were on Twitter. Like, people don't even know, like, just random people were like, I'm going to Atlanta. Oh, shit. Okay. Like, that's interesting. Aside from the, not surprise, but unexpectedness that Sounders were able to take down LAFC, because, people that are in it from a day-to-day standpoint, whether they're ECS folks or longtime season ticket holders or whatever, like, generally speaking, if the odds are 80% for the other team, like, you're probably not going to speculate that much. It seems like Sounders fans this year did speculate quite a bit that they were going to make the final once it came down to that conference finals. And that felt a little different to me, I think, than even like previous Sounders seasons. Definitely other sports teams that I've paid attention to. People seemed really hot about being able to defeat the conference foe as well as making it to MLS Cup.
Well, it's a little different. Obviously, in 2016 and 2017, they were favorites. Even though, 2016, Colorado, they had a better record than the Sounders, but did anybody really think that the Sounders were going to lose that game? Not really. And then the Houston game was over
in like half an
It
hour.
was over basically before it started. They scored inside of like 10 minutes, and then, the red card, and then that series was basically over. And so this one was the first time, probably since the LA game in like 2012, 2013, or whenever that was, 2012, I think, where they were decidedly an underdog. And it was just, I predicted 1-0, but that was just kind of homering mostly, to be honest. But again, as we talked about, they played basically the perfect game, and LAFC didn't really have much to offer outside of the first part of the game. And it was a weird feeling watching that game because it was, once they took the 2-1 lead, they were really comfortable to me.
Yeah.
And they weren't threatened. Can you think of any point in the game once they had taken the lead where they were really threatened by LAFC? A shot that went up the crossbar that should have gone in. Maybe the penalty shout. But aside from that,
I guess
wasn't really anything else.
No, I don't know that they were necessarily comfortable, though, up until the hour mark, just because you could feel, especially in the stadium where it's like every single giveaway, and LAFC like makes one pass and they get the runners going, and the Sounders did a really good job of shutting them down, but you could always feel that it was like one bad pass away from bang, 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 and then it could be tied. So I think that the goal to go up 3-1, I do think it could have gone either way. And then once that went in, LAFC seemed to pretty much deflate. But I think up until that point, like it was still very much in the balance. Which again, like the belief of the Sounders fans, I appreciate because I did not see that coming.
That third goal, having been in bars for various matches before, was one of the more ridiculous moments I think I remember in like Sounders land. There wasn't as much beer thrown in the air as there was at
LAFC
Bank of California Stadium. I'm sorry, Bonk. There was not quite that much beer, but there was a lot of jumping and a lot of hugging and high-fiving of people that you've never met before. That was pretty nuts. Which is funny because you're like, oh, you're already winning? Oh, you're winning by more now? Let's be more intense than the previous time. That was pretty awesome.
And again, and it did, like, I do think that was the goal that really did it. Like, they would have really had to ride it out the rest of the way. So that was the first time as somebody who thought that they didn't have much of a chance, and I was like, oh, they're actually going to go and win this game. And, I mean, credit to Rui Diaz and Lodero, too, because, again, they executed really well, but there's really no substitute from having those two guys that made the very absolute most of the little bit of an opening that they had both times.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, Rui Diaz probably hasn't gotten as much national credit for his skill and ability. Part of that is probably he's again not a European star. Some of that is he was gone for a good chunk of the season through injury and international duty, so he didn't put up the pure numbers this year that I think most of us expected him to.
Yeah.
And that's but that doesn't diminish his actual skill. And when he's fully healthy and the Sounders are fully healthy, it's amazing what happens when you have a full strength team.
Yeah.
That can put out a bunch of weapons. And they didn't even need Victor Rodriguez, who is by all accounts healthy now.
Yeah.
And so they got to rest him, and he should be fully available, which is, I guess, leads into an interesting question as to what we think their starting lineup will be for the game. I can't imagine that they're going to change anything at this point.
No, I would posit that maybe they should, but I don't think that they will. Brian just seems married to the 2017 version of Joven all the way till the end, so I think he's just going to ride it out.
Yeah, and to be fair, he had a decent game.
Yeah,
when it
fine.
works,
He was fine.
it's actually really amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
But there are moments where you're like, your reliability at that position right there.
and how many moments of those flashes have you seen this year? I don't know that it's been
Not
super
many. Not many.
No comment.
I mean, this was one of his better games, but you're absolutely right. It's he's gambling to some degree that he's going to be able to replicate that. I mean, it is a final, so you got to figure that everyone's going to be up for it.
Yeah.
But this is where kind of like LAFC played a lot of the season. Like, let's be clear, they're not a good defensive team. They have a couple of decent defensive players. But as you saw, again, in the LA versus LA, and the Galaxy's defense is trash, there's some gaping holes there. And that's where if Sounders went into that match confident in themselves and went to like stuff it, down them the whole match, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't go into the match at home versus Toronto and just be like, we're better than you. Our offense is deadly. We have multiple clinical finisher type players. Let's go. And that's why you end up with, I think, a Jones as a winger. You know, if you feel like they're going to overpower you up top or whatever, or if like Josie were to start the match, like if you knew that was coming, you might do that a little differently. But if you go in and you're like, we're going to put 2 on them in the first half, I think that changes the way you fill out that 18, I think, to your point. But
yeah,
I mean, again, we don't need to go all the way down the rabbit hole on this, but like, what's the like glaring change that you would make? Like right now, if you were to pick, is it your 18 you change or is it your 11 you change right now? Were you to pick?
I mean, I would change the 11 just because I think Toronto's going to come in and absolutely bunker. I mean, that's what they've done in New York. That's what they did in New York. That's what they did in
we've
Atlanta.
never seen that before.
Yeah, they made the game extremely boring from a neutral perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens, though, when the home supporters create TIFO supporting the away team. The away team wins. It's weird. I don't know why that would happen. But anyway, that's another discussion.
But whenever they're going to... I just think that Rodriguez is the guy that they might need if they're going to sit back and force somebody to unlock them, because that's the one guy they have that can do that.
Yeah.
And having said all that, I still think that they just run everybody back out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we remember how they were in the first 5 games from the season when they had Rodriguez and Smith, just destroying people on that left side. Morris was on the right side at that point, and now obviously he switched over, so that probably changes the calculus a little bit. But I think you're 100% right that if they bunker, then Rodriguez is definitely somebody who would be very useful against that, especially if you have that attacking band with Rodriguez, Ladero, and Morris.
Yeah,
That's and Rui Diaz obviously. That's you got to figure that they're going to be able to break down any defense, and if not, you can send Morris over the top and use his speed to kind of stretch him that way too, especially with Smith. So, but I just don't see him changing the lineup at this point.
Yeah, I think that you're right.
Yeah, that goes against everything we've seen from him in the last 3 years, basically. So I just find that hard to fathom.
Yeah, I think there's been something to the starting 11 hasn't changed from last week. Oh, we're winning. Let's do that again, like rinse, repeat. And I do expect there to be a change in the 18.
Yeah.
At least one, if not 2. But I think we'll see what happens this week. Again, there's other days of training. You have no idea what's going to happen. There's a little bit of fragility with a couple of players on both teams, so you never really know. And again, we're speculating a week out still. So
there's still
we've
plenty
been
of
surprised
time.
before. It's also cold weather, like things happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they've got training not until Wednesday,
right?
And then they're training through the rest of the week, basically. But it's kind of championship training, so it's think of the Super Bowl when they don't really do a whole lot. It's mostly media appearances and interviews and stuff like that. But
can we just do like dumbass interviews like that last week before the Super Bowl when they have the 2 weeks off and people are getting asked like, what's their favorite Hostess product? Like, we could just be here so we don't get fined. If someone says that on the Sounders, I will be so proud.
Well, it would have been Dempsey. He would have
been Dempsey.
He would have been your candidate.
Good call.
yeah, I don't think you'll get that from anybody on this team particularly. But so it'll be fun to kind of see them go through this at home, which is obviously we can kind of segue into the sales of the game and tickets and all that stuff, because it was the
crazy.
It's been insane.
I'm gonna look at StubHub right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was curious.
If anyone shows up, you can quote me on this. If anyone shows up to GA and wants to sit and complain about flags, send them to me. Because I don't fucking care. You're pogoing.
But I did want to ask your guys' opinion from a fan's perspective. Like, how do you think that the organization handled the ticket rollout? in terms of how they sort of did it in tiers. It seemed like.
I would say the strategic. It was very strategic
yeah.
because they I think there's a couple of layers. I don't know if they underestimated demand. I think they might have a little bit.
Yeah.
Because allowing season ticket holders to consume that many tickets probably was an indication they wanted to make sure that they got a good crowd for the game.
Yeah.
And that was obviously the case because I was tracking, I think a bunch of people actually were tracking kind of the sales in real time. And I asked one of the Sounders front office people if they were going to open up the entire stadium for the game, and they weren't sure. I mean, this was very early. This was, as the final whistle was blowing in the Atlanta-Toronto game. And so they weren't sure they were going to open up the whole stadium. They were like, it's kind of to be determined. We'll see how demand goes. And then you start seeing the ticket sales, and you see the lower bowl, all the dots with open spaces disappearing quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then they start opening up other sections, and those start going. And then you're on SeatGeek, and you're checking the prices, and those start going up. And then I think, the general sale was Friday at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I want to say...
You mean 9:51?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes. The pre-sale, I think they closed it off around 6 or 7 in the morning, officially. And they were basically all gone at that point. Like,
Yeah.
The lower bowl was sold out the day before, like sometime Thursday. And then whatever they were opening up for pre-sale was basically done by morning Friday. And then I heard that there was 7,000 tickets that were going to be available for the, for the general public.
Out of 69.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is that's just unbelievable to me that it's not. I shouldn't say it's unbelievable to me. It was interesting to see that amount of demand was apparent for the game. And I guess in hindsight, we probably should have understood that was going to be the case. First home. When's the last time in a one-off Seattle's hosted a championship game?
Also, the tickets were really affordable
for
as major sporting
Yeah,
events.
which that part's good.
And that's
But so I mean, I was just following along like on social media, and so it turned out that season ticket holders could buy six
up to
tickets.
6,
6 more
Yes.
than you had.
Yes.
Yeah.
And was that communicated particularly well? Because it seemed like people just figured that out.
I think it was kind of confusing.
Yeah.
And it depends on how you interact with the team. Yeah, the team email was a little random. I think if you pay attention to social, you probably knew what was happening and like understood it. But if you just read this one-off email and you're not particularly like either tech savvy or you just kind of scanned it or you looked at it on your phone and deleted it or whatever, you were like, what?
Yeah.
Because I've heard all sorts of stories about what experience people had. Conceptually, I like that they wanted to, let's call it, reward season ticket holders. It hasn't turned into the shit show resale frenzy that it had the risk of being, because
everyone's going to the game.
Sold 40,000 tickets extra, or 30,000 tickets extra. They could all be on the secondary market, and the highest I've seen it is roughly 800 on StubHub. There's definitely been some on SeatGeek, but somewhere between, call it 500 and 800 at any given time. Now, I don't know if that's rolling and people keep listing them a couple days later or whatever.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like 7,000 tickets were immediately available on the secondary market, which tells me people got their tickets for their friends and family or for other folks. And like, I know, like talking to Mike from Fuel, he and I talked last Friday, and he's like, I'm getting texts from people. I don't even have their numbers in my phone. And they're all like, do you have the hookup on tickets? And he's like, you don't even like soccer.
Yeah.
And they're like, we need to go to this game.
Yeah.
And on one hand, I'm like, I'm all right with that. Because if somebody shows up and enjoys it, great. But if it's I'm going to spend $5,000 and like not actually want to pay attention and just go so I can like have the,
take some
backpack
selfies.
going.
And,
I'm not really great with that. But if that's what the attention span is right now for soccer in Seattle, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is it the best execution? I don't know.
Like I think like what you're talking about, like conceptually, like I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I think they've undercut the basically the scalper market.
It
Yeah.
feels like and that feels like the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
But like I don't know why they couldn't have communicated that better, because if you're sort of like drawing like the circles of Sounders fandom, like the people that are like incredibly engaged and the people that are like most deserving of going.
Well, it felt like a rush, and I wonder if there was something to when tickets get turned over to the league, because like the league
Yeah.
runs MLS Cup.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's a turnaround where at some point the league or sponsors or whomever else gets control over ticketing or
Yeah.
whatever. And they said, we want to be able to sell as many tickets as we can within N period of time.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like I have 3 seats in GA. I think they're 25 or 26 because I don't have 09 tickets. They were 35. Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for context, Atlanta was 80.
Yeah.
And we would have had, I think, just ECS or ECS and other supporter groups, we had like 758 tickets in Atlanta, which is roughly the same size. It's a little less than what we get in Portland. It was 80. The last year in Toronto was 99. I don't know, $35? I don't believe that the Toronto supporters paid $35 for their home tickets. I mean, maybe they did.
Yeah.
But this is also a couple years later. Like, that's nuts to me.
Yeah.
No,
And
for
that's
sure.
when they realized, like, we're going to balance this out. Let's maximize our ability to get season ticket holders to actually pay for their cup final tickets, under the regular pricing. And then at that point, like if we bought extras, they were more.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like if you bought
Yeah.
them on the open market or through SeatGeek, they were more. And Sounders, I think 2 season ticket holders had roughly 50 GA tickets that they had sold to other folks. I don't know where they were, probably $50, $60 if I
Yeah.
had to guess. But even so, like $60, that's crazy.
No, for sure. Yeah, I guess like so like I have like some friends that are like just sort of outside of the edge of people that are like incredibly engaged, and I think that might have been the market that got sort of a little bit underserved, because it's like people that aren't super engaged on Twitter.
Oh, have
and
you been
go
on
to
the
like
Sounders FC fans page on Facebook?
But
Don't
but I
go
have
on
friends
it.
that go to like 8 to 10 games a year and aren't particularly well. They actually have friends that are season ticket holders, but like
They
didn't
just tag
realize
along,
that
yeah.
like, oh, you can hit up your friends who are season ticket holders until it was too late,
Right.
and then it went on to sale to the general public, and like there is like pretty much no casual-ish fan that was able to get in that way. It doesn't seem like. I mean, some people seem to have, but like
Yeah.
that sale
Just because
seemed
the
like it
code
was-
got the
Yeah.
code got released.
yeah, like that
the day
that
before,
part
but-
seemed like it was a disaster. But like, I do think that they did it the right way in terms of trying to reward season ticket holders. But I guess if I had a complaint watching from the outside, it's they should have made it clear that that's what they were doing, because I don't know that everyone realized that.
Oh,
It is really
that's-
cool,
yeah.
though, that you can purchase tickets right now in the TFC supporter section. That doesn't really seem like a good idea. But, for the low price of $308.75, you can sit in the TFC supporter section.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, all of
We set rules around resale of the tickets. They did not. And the question was, why was this different than when we were in Toronto? My semi-official comment is, you might be reseated, and then they might go, oh, there's nowhere for you to go. So, FYI, don't buy tickets in the TFC supporter section if you're a Sounders fan, which are right now kind of in that 300 corner level. I don't know if they're going to be in 3 sections or 5 sections. That's kind of the ballpark. I think they were allotted somewhere around 3,000 tickets potentially, and there is a limit on when they can purchase them too.
I think-
and then Sounders take them
I
back.
think the deadline was today.
It was today,
actually,
yeah. So, because we had heard they were somewhere between 300 and 304 in the upper, and then in the lows, like 300 through 301 or 301, 302, something like that. So we'll see what comes back and what doesn't. But the fact that those tickets are getting flipped is not great, because they're not like only Toronto FC fans could have purchased those tickets like legally in the first place. So the fact that they put them on the public open market doesn't make any sense at all. And that was also why we did in-person tickets for 100% of tickets. Both, frankly, the ones the Sounders sold and the ones that ECS sold for away at Toronto, you had to come pick them up. and like you actually signed a document about flipping your ticket, which was a pretty big deal. We will do that again. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But genuinely, like PSA, don't buy a ticket in the TFC away section because you may not be reseated. We're actually trying to figure that out, like what that's going to look like elsewhere. Now, there may be some balance and people buy tickets elsewhere and they sort of work themselves out in the long run, but I don't know what they're doing with like the SRO spaces that I know that the Seahawks have up on the 300 level, or college football has for the 300 level, or like the fan deck or anything like that. I have no clue what's going to happen. But I know Sounders are aware of it. We've talked to them about it, and they have definitely seen tickets changing hands. And from what I was told, they did a little bit of told you so to Toronto about like maintaining or managing the process of selling their tickets. And again, like
I think
TFC's got a lot more tickets than Sounders All Up did.
Yeah.
Up in Toronto,
Or
again, bigger house, obviously.
Well, that didn't help. That didn't help Portland last year when they were in Atlanta.
No,
so.
no comment.
But I think they've sold most of their away allotment, so I don't think too much is going to come back to the open market. So that's, again, based on the lack of a resale market.
Yeah.
You're going to be paying. I know people are hoping that ticket prices go down, but I don't really see
I don't
that
know if
happening.
they're going to come down
I
that
don't
much.
Really see that happening.
They've gone up, even though like ECS tickets, and by the way, fuck you if you're selling your tickets. There's 21 right now. The get-in price is $470 on StubHub right now, and there's different pricing on SeatGeek.
Yeah.
And pretty much if you're on there, you're either a season ticket holder or you probably are a season ticket holder, knowing how that worked. So how should I say this politely? We can find out if you've sold your ECS ticket. All of them are digital transfer, which means you didn't buy them from ECS at this point, and because you won't receive it until at least Wednesday. But again, speculator's going to speculate, and that's fine. But really, the PSA is like you can spend $500 to get into GA. Please read the signage when you walk into the section, and that's pretty much where I'll leave it.
Actually, no, please complain.
Please complain, Mark says. Please try and get reseated. Not going to happen. Please pick up a flag and wave it. There are probably people in Upper who would move down. Multiple of them are here right now. Otherwise, pick up one of Bread's 2 poles and hold it up.
I don't. But I think they did a reasonable job under the circumstances. Is my bottom line, because I think their strategy of kind of undercutting the secondary market and scalpers appears to have worked. And I don't know if they would admit that was their purpose if we asked them. But I suspect they're fairly proud of themselves regarding
good.
that.
I didn't expect the velocity of it, genuinely. Like, I knew it would be the morning. I wasn't expecting at 10:01 to see the, like, haterade on Twitter. People were like, I've been in the queue for this long, and I got nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, some of that is this is a very high demand event. Sounders have a very large fan base. You do simple math. Not everyone's going to be able to get into the game.
Yeah.
And so some of that is just, kind of tough luck.
No, for
I
sure.
don't mean to be flip, but that is the bottom line.
Yeah.
You don't hear people complaining about not getting into the Super Bowl, really.
Yeah.
And that's just a lesson that people are going to have to learn.
I mean, you could get drunk for less outside.
You could have gone
Yeah.
to
I
many
guess,
a game during
yeah.
the year.
I hope that they do end up like coordinating a couple different events like outside of the stadium
Oh,
or
yeah.
like official game watches, or I think that could be a way of mitigating that a little bit.
Put up a big screen in Pioneer Square. Or
Yeah,
something like that.
something like that at least allows people to kind of participate in a certain way that weren't able
Yeah.
to get
I
in.
expect Pioneer Square to be nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
There's a question.
Yeah.
Eric. Yeah.
We asked them about that.
Yeah,
that is
T-Mobile
a
Park
more
has a
Mariner-
suggestion.
A Mariner driven thing. That's not the Sounders saying, "Hey, will you open them up?" That's the Mariners.
Well, aren't they setting
1
up
and
for
2.
what is it? Enchantment, Enchanted, whatever.
Yeah. Comment was they're maybe doing some facelift renovations. I don't think that's
I mean,
going to
they
happen.
open for
That's
don't
my
they open
hunch.
for Seahawks? Is that what it is? They open. There's something else they open for. They'll let you like pregame inside.
Oh, the
Oh,
Outdoor
yeah.
Theater? Yeah.
They open the pen. That's what it is. Yeah. I don't know. Again, stadium construction is a whole other thing. There is stuff in WAMU, I believe, for MLS Cup Day.
Car
so
show.
it's not like so it's not like that can get opened up. But I'd be really surprised. I mean, you know how this works. Like people want proximity to stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like anything else, and it's like fireworks or literally anything that like massive amounts of people go to. They're going to be like, I'm going to go to the neighborhood. Like I fully expect the March or like March adjacent things to be bunkers on Sunday.
Yeah.
You know, so like it's like pre-funk, during funk, post-funk is going to be just crazy.
Yeah.
During funk, don't worry. There's going to be people not even watching the game. They're just like, I'm just drinking at this bar because I'm in the neighborhood.
So I do want to ask you. So Tom, kickoff time. Do you like the 1 o'clock or the early start?
12:08 p.m.
Yes.
Pacific.
Do you like the early start? What
Get
would be
the
your
fuck out of
ideal
here.
kickoff time?
I
Yeah,
can't
I
imagine
actually-
anybody.
Yeah.
I actually would have
any
loved
part
it
of
to
that.
be 3 o'clock.
yeah.
3 o'clock would be fine.
Like, and I know it's really hard to move that east or west. But again, this isn't Super Bowl where
Yeah.
you've planned it so far in advance. It's at neutral site, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, where you can fix a time and it sort of works itself out. It being this time, no matter where the teams are, is a little bit of a struggle, I
Yeah.
think. And by the way, is the light rail down this weekend again?
No, it's open.
Thank God. 12:08 kick, not my favorite.
Tough.
Like
Tough.
in general, it's not my favorite.
No, I
but
hate,
for this,
I hate these kickoffs.
so March to the match, by the way, 10:45.
What time does Temple? Important question.
Early, probably 8. Temple, etc. I believe are opening somewhere between 8 and 8:30.
CenturyLink opens at 8, I think,
Yeah.
for media
Yeah.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't think I'm getting there
No.
that early.
13 coins is literally never closed.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's, I feel like West Coasters in general,
Dude, the
though, are
line
very
at Biscuit
particular
Bitch is
about
gonna be
start
dumb.
times.
Yeah.
Because like Pac-12 fans,
Just
are
go
always
now.
like, they hate the like 7 o'clock kickoffs too. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is the ideal for people here? Because Huskies fans seem to love the new.
Yeah, oh, they
There's,
love the
by the way, a
12:30 kickoff.
Biscuit
Yeah.
Bitch hate discussion happening between two people that I will not name. What do you mean the earlier time? Expect
Massive crowds.
massive crowds. Big march, lots of cameras, lots of police. What? I expect
Yeah, sure.
the Sounders. I expect the Sounders to have significant amounts of events in Pioneer Square that morning.
I know that's the thing. It's like I don't know why that's not already organized on some level, but
Yeah. I mean,
But I
understand.
don't-
I mean,
I
it,
don't work
yeah,
it is organized already,
Yeah.
but we're not going to tell anyone what it is.
there you go. Why, Tom?
In all seriousness, get to Pioneer Square by 10. Seriously.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that, but what is the
It's just-
reason for delaying it so long? MLS has been the same way with everything.
Yeah, no,
I- I'm actually
weird.
surprised that we haven't heard what the MLS events are yet. Because I think in Toronto, like, we sort of knew some of those specific things, like
Yeah.
whether they were cocktail hours or this other thing or like fan fest type stuff. I haven't seen any of that yet.
No, even the media stuff just finally came out today.
Yeah. It's not. It's been pretty sparse.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No one has ever sneaked into the post-game party, Mark.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it like this in Toronto?
I mean, best that I can remember, everything like came out much sooner in terms of the logistics.
I would say by today, I feel like we knew what was happening.
Yeah.
Because people were going to stuff like Because wasn't it Saturdays both times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
So
like
I think
we.
that's
Oh,
part of
yeah.
it.
The 2 week. They had the 2 week break.
Yeah, there
for
was a 2 week
internationals.
break, and the game was Saturday versus Sunday, so I think that's probably part of it.
That
even
makes
though
some
it's Sunday at noon, which
Yes.
hardly even counts.
Yeah.
Wow. People are really excited about Taco Time. I do let people enjoy things, but I'm allowed to judge people. I am. I actually pay good. I pay good money to judge people on a yearly basis. I didn't, but is that ticket still there? Yes.
So that's a bold move.
$9,499.04 plus fees.
I wonder what the fees would look like on that.
It's like, isn't it 25% or some stupid
Yeah,
amount?
like
Yeah. Wow.
You'd be
StubHub's just like
StubHub,
1, 2,
$3,000.
3.
Yeah.
That's
I
just
guess
outrageous.
shoot your shot, I guess.
I don't know. I do really think Pioneer Square is going to be, at a minimum, like Seahawks playoff game level crazy.
Yeah. What is the sort of craziest Sounders atmosphere you've ever been to, and how do you expect it to compare to Sunday?
Ooh, Starfire is a really good example. Craziest? There's been some Portland stuff that's been nuts. I don't know. MLS Cup was really good. I think all in, like, between having a good bar spot. Open Cup's really good example. Either that or like CCL.
Or being told to fix the camera. I don't know if there's a. I don't know if there's really an
I don't
analog.
think I can compare it to
I don't think
this.
there's really
Yeah.
a similar one. It's not anything that's ever happened, and you're getting a one-off for the title that they've wanted for 10 years
Yeah.
essentially, and it's just tough to compare to anything else. So anything could happen. I think you should just go in just to kind of absorb the experience and have no expectations really.
I mean, you could
Yeah.
just. I mean, I'll just stay off the show. It's cool. Tom off camera. It's the Mickey and Matt Pentz show.
Gone way too there.
Mickey
Yeah.
and Matt live on KJR.
Is that better?
It's not.
No,
Yeah,
a
no.
little bit farther.
I don't know what it is that our former producer Mark Nestoroff is doing right now, but he voted.
Good job. Yeah. Quick
Did y'all
reminder, while
vote?
We're having technical difficulties
you guys vote?
to go vote. I've got mine at
I-
home. I'm filling it out
I've
tonight.
got my ballot I need to turn in.
Yes.
Filled it
You know, there are
Filled out
places
today.
around town that you can do that.
I'm aware
Yeah.
of that.
Just let me know. I can tell you where you grade.
What's the mail?
I'm not familiar with that process. Yeah. Good.
I know.
Yeah.
I'll find a Dropbox. It's gonna be fun.
Yes. I'll do the
There's
same.
none particularly close to me.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I don't know. I would say I agree with Mickey. I'm not sure there's something that's this scale.
Yeah.
I think, again, MLS Cup's been amazing. Portland matches, home and away, are nuts.
Yeah.
There have been a couple of marches that have been outrageous before the fire marshal changed like 60 times and they decided they didn't like smoke.
What would you say? How was Atlanta's atmosphere last year? Because I guess that's the only really
Yeah.
comparable one in modern times.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly really good. But I don't know. I just do think that there's something to be said about the longevity of having to, like, wait for it and, like, build towards something for that long. Like, Atlanta still felt kind of like... I even said this while I was at the game, that, like, one day historians are going to look back and, like, be amazed that 70,000 people turned out for a game in Atlanta, because they still just kind of seem like they're riding that, like... not a
You
fad.
should post that comment
Yeah.
on that post on
Yeah.
Sounder at Heart.
Yeah,
Just
the
to like
famous.
get a couple of extra.
But it does see. It still felt like it still does feel a little bit fad-ish because it's still so early, and I just think that like there will be another level of like the anticipation that people had to wait for that will take it over the top what that was. Because yeah,
I
it was a
tend to
really good
agree.
atmosphere, but
Yeah.
I just think that like the level of commitment here is different.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I just, again, we'll have to wait and see. But I expect it to be fantastic. So I'm just looking forward to observing this spectacle.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And I also agree that I am surprised that there have not been more events announced around the game itself, because I think Seattle's a prime place for that kind of thing. I
Yeah.
mean, not every market would probably support you know,
yeah, because
some of that
stadium
stuff.
downtown.
Yeah.
They have a hotel that they tend to stay at. The league or
Yeah.
teams tend to stay at. I think there's some consistency. There's some experience there that they've had before.
They already announced where they're going to be.
Yeah, they're
Well,
not going to the Olive 8 though.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Yeah. Maybe they must just not have the like event
Bandwidth,
convention
yeah.
space. Because they also use the team hotel for like the state of the league and the
Yep.
press conferences and all that. So I'm guessing that was the issue.
So it's about 8:40. Any like random league announcement predictions or like other stuff that you think will happen?
Oh, we got the State of the Leagues on Friday, so that'll be kind of cool. That'll be the first. I assume he did it in 2009, the last time the MLS. MLS
I
Cup
lived
was
across
here.
the street then. It was interesting. I definitely didn't sneak into anything.
Yeah. What? You have to be credentialed. I mean, you don't have to be credentialed to go to the hotel, so you could just.
You could just apply for
Yeah,
that.
you could just
Hang
wander.
out, yeah.
You just hang out.
Protest in the lobby.
Yeah, there's nothing preventing you from being in the hotel per
Yeah.
se.
Yeah.
But to go to the actual event is probably credentialed. But yeah, so the State of the League is on Friday. Garber always has his press conference, so that'll be interesting. There's a lot of stuff on tap for him to discuss: expansion, litigation. I don't know what. I mean, obviously the news that comes out is somewhat dependent upon the questions that are asked. Thanks. But aside from that, I'm sure they have the narratives that they want to bring
Yeah,
to
I mean,
get
there
out
usually
themselves.
is something.
There's always some news that comes out.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
so I guess so. Last year it was the aftermath of the cruise stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was sort of the predominant line of questioning.
You
was
got
people,
hammered on that.
So
yeah,
this'll
people
be
asking about that, and then the year-
NYCFC moves to City Field.
yeah, and then
Yep. In my CFC, I'm sure will be people ask
yeah,
about that.
I'm
'cause-
guessing. Yeah. I think they'll be a little bit more triumphant this year because last year was the crew and that was the whole thing. Year before that, it was the aftermath of the U.S. bombing out of the World Cup and them addressing the fallout of that.
Yeah.
This year, you have the expansion teams lined up, kind of like I'm sure that they're going
Mostly.
to. That's going to be the line that they're going to hammer. I think is the growth
yeah.
and probably edging into CBA stuff.
CBA will probably
Which will be interesting.
get a ton of questions.
Yeah,
I mean, he'll non-answer them, but
I think
there'll be
that-
a lot of questions.
So normal.
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think that they'll start to like give some reflection on the company line there.
That they're
I-
losing money, but they're in a growth phase.
I
and
think
et
that
cetera,
they'll
et
lay the
cetera.
groundwork for that.
Yeah. Because the CBA is up January 31st.
I mean, that's why you have to
So-
expand so much this year, so you can take in those sweet, sweet expansion fees and
to-
hold out while your league is not playing.
well, that's not going to. Yeah, the owners will be fine. I don't know about the players.
I don't think there's going to be a strike this time, but that's getting way down the road.
I would.
So that's your prediction right now? No strike?
I kind of tend to agree, just based on what Bob Foose, who's he's the executive director for the players, he seemed to be fairly. I don't want to overstate it, but he seemed to be fairly optimistic that they'll get something done because they've been talking for quite some time. I don't know what the update is. Hopefully he'll be out here so we can ask him. But he seemed to be not as antagonistic as these things can tend to be. But
Yeah.
who knows?
Yeah, because I went to the Union sort of press availability at the All-Star game, and it just seemed like I don't know. I would like to see the players strive a little bit more for what they get in terms of what the league is bringing in. And my reading of it is that they were already aiming a little bit low and resetting expectations for like, oh, we're all going to get charter flights and that's our goal. And that just felt like such a like low win. But the feeling that I got, like last time, the whole like the existential thing was they wanted some form of free agency, and they were willing to kind of die on that hill. I don't know that there's like a wedge issue this time that like is going to force there to be this like last second deal.
Yeah, my understanding or thought is that they got free agency last time. And so they're just fighting for some changes to free agency this time. And I think the league is more or less okay with that. So that's not really an issue that's going to really animate the discussions. And charter flights aren't either, surprisingly, because I think all things being equal, if they had the choice between charter flights and an extra $3,000 to $5,000, they'd take the cash. But I think they'll fight to get some marginal improvements there as well. I think the main issue is probably the TAM issue, and U.S. players not really being able to access that money as much. Although it has improved. Who's gotten TAM recently? Paxton Pomacole, I think, from Dallas got some TAM, and Miles Robinson got some TAM as well. He got a pretty decent contract.
Well, Christian and Jordan.
Absolutely. They're on TAM deals. And so I think so that's changed a little bit, not as much as the union would like. I know the union would like to just get rid of TAM and just put that money and just increase the salary cap, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
There's no chance that that's the case. But that's probably the biggest flashpoint.
Yeah.
From my reading of things.
And it also seems like, and again, this is like probably way too in the weeds on the CBA discussion that's far off, but I also just get the sense that like a group of veteran players who had sort of like more hurt feelings about the league were leading the charge a little bit more than is the case now. Like Brad Evans was a really strong advocate for the players, and I just don't necessarily get the sense that there are any like old veterans who like are willing to sort of like take that fight up around anymore.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to, we've got, 6 days until the season's over. And then the off season starts. And I apologize for
this is like
bad,
this is the best case scenario you could possibly have.
I love how we went from every other year where we're like, the off season is so short to now.
It's long.
There's no more games.
And I guess it's kind of on. It is a month earlier. The season is ending a month earlier, so that's going to give them a lot of time to try to get all this stuff done. And Garth is happy about that because it gives him more time to kind of wheel and deal and not have to cut people on the day after MLS Cup as he's talked about. So I just think the offseason starts soon, and they've got to get moving on a lot of the Sounders specifically and the league generally on a lot of this stuff. So it'll be hopefully we'll get some clarity on some of those issues. Like you said, the CBA asking him, Garber, about that. Again, don't expect much.
Yeah.
But at least maybe we can get some updates, if not on the record, at least behind the scenes, and find out where they are on that stuff.
Yeah.
So we got a handful of questions in the chat. I'll go. What about Jordan Morris, Brad?
Morris is.
I've heard that Jordan Morris is very okay.
He has
had some
looked
things to
like
do.
physically exhausted for like a month.
Yeah.
But I do.
I mean, he's been busy playing
That
for
is
that
just his
irrelevant
that is
team
his state of
and the
being.
Sounders.
Yeah.
That is his state of being. He looks like that after every practice.
But it does seem like even more so.
Yeah.
But this week and a half off is going to help
I
him.
can't imagine. Yeah.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
It's because he has to commute to Mercer Island, and it is exhausting. So
The pay to
Okay.
go is
I don't think he's
really
living
good.
just
in
let
Mercer
me have
Island
my
anymore.
Mercer Island jokes, people. Damn it.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm not going to repeat what was just stated, but there were some comments about there's no expansion draft, right?
No,
but
there is an expansion
there
draft.
is an
There is an
expansion
expansion
draft.
draft.
It's
Yeah.
Is it going to be the same as before?
Five. They each get 5 picks. Once you get a player picked, you cannot have another one.
So is there a
And
protected list?
there will be a protected list, and there are any team that had a player picked in the last expansion draft is exempt. The Sounders did not have a player picked, so they are fair game. And yeah, I think the expansion draft's like a week after MLS Cup, give or take, like maybe like that Friday.
Is
So
it also a
It's the
conference
Friday
call?
after? Hopefully.
They're doing some kind of nonsense. That thing is ridiculous.
It'll be a G chat.
Yeah.
Hey, the Sounders were built through an expansion draft.
Oh my God. If it's a Reddit AMA, I will buy the drinks for us to like go to a bar and just sit there and refresh.
Yeah, there's no indication. Hunch Punch asked if he thought they were done. There's no indication those things are going away anytime soon.
No.
And you've got
They do it in
now-
Garber's living room.
Yeah.
It's carpeted. It's not great.
I would suspect that he will try, yes.
Yeah. Because they have a lot of players.
He's
who-
usually sort of ahead of the curve on that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm
so.
sure. Yeah, they'll try to mitigate their losses.
Yeah.
Do
which
they-
any team should do.
Yeah.
Will they stream the State of the League?
Yes, they. Yeah, Garber
sure?
always. Yeah.
'Kay.
Yeah, that's standard practice.
Unless it's going to be super shady stuff.
Yeah. Unless the league changes their mind.
When Mickey raises his hands, it just cuts out.
Cut out. What happened?
I just have a couple of things I
Lisa,
like to interview him about.
Matt,
Yes.
Lisa has a question. Since your first book was about the first MLS Cup, is there a second book that will be coming out?
Not as of now. No, I do feel like this is sort of an extension of that first narrative. So maybe there would be like an
You're just
updated.
gonna post an update?
There would be like an updated edition. Maybe.
That's
Maybe that
very-
would make some sense.
That's very marketing bullshit of you. Good job. I commend you.
I don't know, but like all of the main characters are the same, really. Like there are maybe I could add like a Rui Diaz chapter, but part of what I think makes this team sort of really compelling to follow is that I don't know, it's just been that same core, it's the same sort of protagonists, and they're all sort of like coming full circle, bringing it back. So there might be a second book at some point, but I don't know that it will be about this season specifically.
And then Andrew asked, what kind of events have happened at other MLS Cups? So, I mean, we talked a little bit about last year, but what other types of things have
Like
gone
public
on?
events, fan events.
Public events. I mean, whether
I
they're
wasn't
public or
at
private, but
Atlanta. Would you see anything interesting, fan wise?
Public events, that's a good call. I mean, I'm in the like media bubble that we
Yeah.
have our specific things going on, but it did feel again like this is probably going to change, but like you could just see like MLS Cup stuff all around town and like. But I was typically flying in on Wednesday, and it was probably all sort of around. But I would guess that they'll start to engage that. Apparently, whenever they hosted it here in 2009, there was like an aquarium thing. I don't know. I wasn't around.
That's
they actually forced
yeah.
Kyle
That's true. Yeah,
Beckerman
MLS Cup is
to scuba dive
Yeah.
in the aquarium.
Yeah,
MLS Cup is coming to Coleman Dock tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's
and then it's going up to the Space Needle.
Yeah.
But isn't the Giant Cup going to Pike Place Market?
I haven't.
Rumor.
Is that a Jerry style rumor or is that informed speculation?
I don't know what you're talking about, Mickey Turner. I'm not going to do that. I don't know what you're talking about there, Mark. Look for Giant MLS Cup around town.
We'll throw out some feelers. I
Don't
assume it will
put
be here.
stickers on it.
Yeah.
No one has ever done that.
But yes, but I am sure, like, follow us. Like, I'm sure that there will be stuff that's released. There will be some public events.
Yeah,
and,
there should be.
And again, I
Absolutely.
do hope that the Sounders really kind of go all out and having public events around the game on Sunday. So hopefully they.
Yeah, hopefully the fact that it's sold
Tom
out
has
doesn't,
insider information over here.
I don't have any inside information. I don't know what you're talking about. What I will say is, if you bought tickets from ECS, 2 to 7 on Wednesday at the 90, then that night, if you've been paying attention, you'll figure out where. And then 10 to 1:30 or 2 on Thursday, also at the 90. Those are times 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time at the 90.
Verbs are your friend.
I would suggest you pick up your tickets earlier rather than later. Well, no, just not
Very
Saturday.
cryptic right now.
Nothing. It's easier. If you want to wait in longer lines, wait till Saturday. I'm not going to do it in semaphore. Not that I've ever learned that particular alphabet or anything. I'm sorry, it's now 10 to 1 on Thursday. So 2 to 7 Wednesday, 10 to 1 Thursday at the 90.
Where's
The-
it? 6 to midnight.
Nowhere is it 6 to midnight.
There is a pre-funk event as well.
There are multiple events. I heard, is Sound at Heart doing a thing?
Yes, but
There's supposedly a Sound at Heart thing.
there is a Sound at Heart thing.
I haven't seen the official anything on that. But then 8 p.m. at the AC Friday night is the Matt Oak going away party. If you've ever been to the AC during high volume events, get there early or
It
you will
is,
wait outside.
Yeah, it's woof.
And I'm not kidding. Sorry.
Yeah.
Also, Saturday there are some things happening, including 6 to 10 p.m. at Fuel.
How are we getting Matt to the match on
We're not sure yet. The question was, how are we getting Matt to the match? We think he's actually just going to levitate from the AC for a 24-hour period. No. 6 to 10, Saturday night, Fuel. And at 10 p.m., I will be live reading Go the Fuck to Sleep. I'm being totally serious. I actually took it out of the library on my phone tonight to tell you to get the fuck out of the bar because Sunday is going to show up real fast.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here situations. Saturday night.
How many people are going to try to stay awake?
And just do an all-nighter.
Yeah.
A significant portion of people are going to try and stay up the whole night,
And they're
and
gonna
a
fail.
significant portion of people are going to fail miserably.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That sounds like the
And
worst
then-
idea
yeah,
in
and then
history.
just not have a great time.
So,
Yeah.
so it's 8:57. Matt, when you go out on Saturday night, what's your beverage of choice night before a big thing that you cover for work? And why is it not White Claw? You don't have to answer that. I don't know. Anyway, hi, Mark.
I've come to realize that liking IPAs is the most basic white man thing you could possibly do.
Especially in this portion of the country.
Yes. Like I was in LA and I went to a bar like the night before the game down there. Walked up to the bar and they had like those taps that weren't marked, and I like asked the bartender like what local IPAs they had, and I like hated myself for it. But that's what I normally do the night before the game.
So some sort of local IPA.
Yes. Which
So
again,
given
not
that, it's a
particularly
work, it's a
original.
school night for
Yes,
you,
yes.
how late will you stay out on Saturday night?
Not particularly late at all. Which will
I know, but you're from a not here place, so is that like a double-digit number, or are you like 8:30 bedtime?
no. I mean, I would ideally crash out by midnight.
Oh, that's decent,
Yeah.
because you have to be in the stadium by what, 10?
Well, it opens at 8.
Yeah.
But
Probably get there
So-
around 9.
yeah. I'm
So
not getting there at
gates
8
are
o'clock.
10, which is 30 minutes earlier than normal. Thanks, security. So you'll be in the stadium by when?
Probably around 9.
9
Okay.
o'clock sounds reasonable.
9
to me.
o'clock.
But
What are
it
you going
is-
to do in the stadium? And will there be breakfast burritos?
There will be a breakfast spread.
I am very excited for
Yeah,
that,
but
actually.
I'll definitely have to do like the balancing act because like having traveled for multiple MLS Cups now and like going and seeing other people's cities and like developing friends within the American like soccer media core, it's gonna be a lot of fun having people here.
Yeah.
So ending up at home by midnight on Saturday might end up being trickier than I planned. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But at the game, I mean, like I do want to like
Between 10 and midnight,
Yeah.
from Pioneer Square to
Yeah.
anywhere,
Yeah.
Ubers are going to be $85.
Yeah,
Yes, it's gonna be very
It's going to be like
bad.
rates are higher due to increased demand.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like, I'm going to Olivate.
Yes.
$85.
Yes. But at the actual game, like I'll probably get out to Pioneer Square and make the rounds and just try to take in as much of the scene as I can because I just do think it will be a very cool event overall.
Yeah.
So, before I ask you what your beverage is going to be the night before, shout out to the media outlet that wanted to know where they should send their drone over the march to the match on Sunday.
Did you say the sun?
I didn't say the sun, but that's a good answer. Also, if you look this up, the FAA doesn't allow you to fly drones within 5 miles of Boeing Field. So,
Who knows that?
good luck with that. Mark knows that.
Drone operator.
Anyway, so Mickey, what are you drinking on Saturday night, and where will you be?
Well, probably be downtown. I will probably check out the lovely fuel event after dinner, depending on where that ends up being. And I would hope to be home by 11:30 or 12 midnight, because it's just I don't want to be a zombie going into that event, going into MLS Cup. That just seems like a recipe for disaster.
Or awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
showing up wrecked to the press room
Yeah,
is
that's
a
the
good
other
idea.
thing. That's the other thing. Yeah, the press hangover. That would probably not go over very well.
No.
All right,
So
so let's make a couple predictions.
Yeah.
One, will Jason Rance be in the
Oh.
press room?
Yeah.
Was he?
Whatever, like the odds that Secretariat got to win the Kentucky Derby is what he's going to be there.
Yes, it's 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I'll say 99.9.
It's 100.
All right,
Yeah.
let's do actual predictions.
Yeah.
First goal and score.
Are you gonna do predictions?
Mhm.
Okay, go for it. I'll let you go first.
Rui Diaz is going to score the first goal. I just think that his record in these type of games is insane when you look back at it. Like him having scored to save Morelia in Liga MX, him scoring the goal the last game of last season
Yeah.
to get them that high seed, scored that crazy stoppage time goal against Portland, scored against LAFC. Like, he just really seems to have whatever it is you need to have to come through in moments like this. He scores first within the first 15 minutes, opens it up. Sounders win 3-1 is my prediction.
3-1. Is that a 3-1 they're catching up? Or is
No,
that
it's like a 3 and then like a garbage goal that you
Okay.
give up in
Ooh,
like
all
the
right.
85th
Got it.
minute.
I also 3-1 was also my thought. Although I think it was a 2-0 Sounders get out score, and then Portland pulls one back at some point, or not Portland, Toronto.
Portland?
Yes, I don't know why I said that. Toronto pulls one back, and then
I mean, we don't equally hate them,
Yeah.
but we totally hate them. So 3-1.
Yeah, 3-1 was my thought as well. And I didn't give much thought to who would score first, but I will say I think Dad knew who that would be an impressive result. I would say I'm gonna go with Christian Roldan for the first goal. Yeah.
All right, that's good. I'm gonna say 2-0.
First goal.
Yeah, I have a hard time arguing with Rui Diaz.
Lodero free kick seems like it could happen too.
I could also see I could
don't
also
think so.
see just like fucked up free kick own goal.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna
Disoriented
say,
by
I'm
the
gonna say
crowds.
Rui Diaz,
Yeah.
though. What I really want is like Michael Bradley own goal, just like something stupid. Yeah, but I'm gonna say Rui Diaz.
Omar Gonzalez. Like if you could get odds on the Omar own goal
Yes.
being the opening goal, that might be a decent prop bet actually.
So couple questions, and then we'll take a couple from the crew here. Hunch Punch says, "Why wouldn't TFC give Raul the Vela treatment?" You mean put out the candle?
I just think it's harder to do. Like his movement is so smart, and he
Yeah.
just doesn't really put himself into
He
those
doesn't
positions.
get fouled a lot.
No, like he's very slippery in
yeah.
that way. Like he's just
Yeah, he's if anybody got that treatment, it'd be Nico for sure.
yes.
But yeah, I don't really see them being able to do that to Raul.
Some Jordan Morris comments here. Morris first 2. Punch. That's pretty serious.
He also
any-
scores a lot of big goals, so that's a
Yeah.
decent bet.
Any questions here in the house before we sign off for the night? That's actually a good question. How dumb are LAFC chants?
They were not as loud as they were on TV. They were so loud.
Well, when you put the microphones in the section. Also, by the way, if you needed a cell phone, I know where you can find one. It's in the supporter section at the 3252 because they're just out there.
Well, we're throwing stones in glass houses.
Also, volleying beers is apparently a thing. Hunch Punch says, how many people would you take getting eliminated by Portland at home field last year? How many people?
I don't get that
If it
question.
meant hosting MLS Cup the next year. Like, would you be okay with getting eliminated last year if you knew the next year you'd make MLS Cup?
So
at
with
home?
hindsight,
This
it's
is
kind
this
of
is a good existential question.
yeah, this is
I'm
kind of a
into it.
hindsighty type of thing. It's-
I mean, he makes a good point. The second bit here is Coach did bring this up as a motivating factor.
yeah,
I'm going to say no. I never want to lose to Portland ever. I don't know.
it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen the other. You're getting the benefit on the other side versus the pain of the loss. So I don't know. Is that a fair trade-off?
Maybe? Ish?
That means you're in a championship game. So I'd flip a coin on that one personally.
Yep. I don't think Sounders care. The question was really about Portland having won MLS Cup in 2015, Sounders winning in 2016. Again, them making it
I didn't
again
really
last
see that
year.
as a main
Does it
motivator.
matter?
It
I
wasn't
don't know
a
if- I don't
main
think it matters.
motivator,
Yeah.
certainly, but I don't know.
Is it a
all,
motivator? Sure.
Oh yeah, of course.
It is very curious if you look at like what it's been 10 years now since the Northwest team was not in a
the-
conference
yeah.
final, which is really insane.
Yeah, that's 2010. I
Yeah,
think.
2010 was the last Western Conference final without either Seattle or Portland, which I
I'm
thought
very
was a
okay
crazy
with
stat.
that.
Yeah.
Sorry, rest of the league.
Especially when you just look at like the landscape of every other American sport to
Actually,
have the
maybe
Northwest have
2011
such a
was the
hold
last
on
one.
it. Yeah, you're right. So it was 9 years.
Yeah.
But regardless, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, pretty impressive by all accounts.
So, any other predictions, random comments?
Are we going to be here next
thoughts?
week because Seahawks are on Monday Night Football?
We are going to be here next week.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, I'm being shown random images from
Got
the
a
Peanut
question?
Gallery.
Yeah.
It's a Debbie Downer question, though.
Okay.
So, end on a nice high note. What do you think is going to happen with the Sounders in the offseason? Who stays, who goes?
Oof. They have a lot of
That sounds like
players on.
Ooh, and there's this question. too.
Oh,
Like, for sure, who's not going to be on Sounders next season?
It's interesting because like I thought I had like a pretty
feel
good
like
read
I should
on
not
it.
answer that question, even though I know part of the answer to that question prior to the NMLS Cup.
Roman Torres.
I don't think that's 100% accurate.
No, that's not 100% guaranteed. You
Yeah.
could definitely
I
do
think
that.
it depends.
Well, because like Garth has always sort of been
He's
pretty
either-
upfront about like
Going to be president.
yeah, yeah. Like you wait to see what like guys can play their way back onto the team, and he's been pretty open about that.
Yes.
And so I felt pretty confident about like where they were at.
There were
a
a lot of
month
Victor
ago,
Rodriguez
But
comments.
now I don't know. I
I
think it's more
Roman
muddy
could be
now.
back. I absolutely
Yeah.
think he could be back. I don't think it's guaranteed.
Yeah.
One way or the other. I think there's a couple other guys that more likely to leave than
Yeah.
than not. But
Yeah,
I don't think
Svensson's
Roman's in that.
tough.
I
yeah.
think Sounders win MLS Cup. Money starts showing up, and players may not be around.
That's a fair guess.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the
There
last
are-
time after they won it all, like half their team went away. So
Mhm.
we'll see. It
And
does
there-
seem like it's an off season where there's going to be a lot of turnover, but I'm not entirely sure where it's at. And
Yeah.
we'll have to
Yeah.
see whether Emmanuel Cecchini like emerges at some
Yeah.
point.
So let's dig a step in.
He's probably not going to even make the 18 for this game, which
Yeah.
is
Hunch punch. If you could get Ozzy back and lose Victor, would you do it? Peanut Gallery says no.
Can I say no?
I say no.
Oh.
Hang on a sec. What do you got?
I
So straight up, Ozzy for Victor next year.
I don't think I'm going to answer that question.
Matt Pentz.
I mean, I just think if you look at the ages, no. But Ozzy was so good this year. He was incredibly good. The Sounders
I mean,
might
you
have made
saw
the
the
wrong call
glaring
on letting him
difference.
go. Yes.
Yeah.
Humidity is
Yep.
good for
Yes.
the joints.
I'll say this, that they did not replace what he brought. Just as,
I would still say no, though.
but
I'm not a big fan of the sign your old players.
Yeah.
In fact, I've spent literal hours on this show complaining about bringing
I mean,
back former
yeah,
players.
you could look at it in hindsight. There could be a hindsight question
Yeah.
because basically the reason he walked is they wouldn't give him a 2-year deal.
Mhm.
Minnesota would. So theoretically, you could have had him for 2 years.
Mhm.
Maybe they should have done that.
yeah.
What do you got?
I think as I said, they didn't replace what he brought, and that was one of their flaws throughout the season. Is just they didn't have a 6 who could, really destroy, transition, break up plays, and you saw it in a couple of the playoff games, the Dallas one where they just could not get the ball off the Dallas midfield because they didn't have anybody who could, perform that role. So in that way, he would certainly have been a benefit, even if he's not doing as much as he used to, just due to his age. So
Okay. Darwin Jr. may be available for some reason that I don't understand.
Well, he would. I actually think it would turn into a massive frustration for Sounders fans because Schmetzer doesn't have nearly as much of the Adrian Heath gene where you absolutely have to defend, which is why he got benched because Heath didn't think he was working hard enough.
Yeah.
But Schmetzer has a little bit of that.
I
and
still
think he
don't
would end up,
understand how
sort of edged
Adrian
out.
Heath
Yeah.
has a coaching job, but that's a whole nother discussion
Yeah.
for later. What do you got?
So anyways, so the Sounders are in, right?
When you say in,
they're in there.
Against?
Toronto. No.
no.
FC.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto.
Yeah, that is accurate.
All right, so we made predictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We made shitty comments about random things. Do we miss anything in the chat? No.
Oh, that's a good one.
Why do you think,
We'll
why,
we'll
why do you think the girls lost?
As in, which?
The girls lost.
As in the rain? I would just say I think the rain got beat by better teams.
that's pretty much it. North Carolina was very good this year. So. Will CBA affect Seattle CCL? If they do not sign it, it will, because they will not be playing because they'll be on strike. So
Let's not do that.
yeah,
Because CCL is amazing.
I'm very hopeful that I will be able to make a CCL trip this time.
that'd be
On
fantastic.
that athletic time.
Yep.
Ideally, everyone subscribe, please. So I can go cover an away day somewhere cool.
We should ask where or find out when that draw is going to be.
Dude,
It's
the
usually in
options are
I think it's
amazing
in
this
December.
time, by the way.
Go on.
Yes.
There's some good Honduras. There's a bit of, I think Guatemala is still in play, and there's a couple of Mexico options. They're
I don't-
actually
Mexico, probably not. I guess it depends on where the
It depends
Sounders
on
get,
where
where
it
they
ends
get
up.
placed.
Yeah. Guatemala or Honduras would be lovely. And
Yeah.
if you haven't gone to Honduras, It's really fun when you go to this island and hang out with people for days before the match.
I've heard.
No
heard good
one's
things.
done that before. Anyway, yeah, I don't know where we end up, but
Yeah.
the options all up, first round or second round, is I think there is at least one Costa Rica.
Yeah.
right.
Oh, two. So
Two.
presets.
Even better.
Yeah.
Costa Rica,
would be pretty-
Alaska flies there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get
That'd be pretty,
in.
that'd be
Trust
pretty
me,
badass.
As soon as I didn't even realize they were.
Bregel
in
points out
running
draw
until
is,
the last
is
day, and I was very
December
excited.
9th.
Yeah.
So get ready,
Oh, the draw's December 9th?
December 9th.
Nice.
Cool.
Okay. So not too far away.
And then points out that the first leg is February 18th through the 20th, and the second is the week next.
Which will be interesting given when the season will start.
Like
in
2 days later or
20.
I mean, I would imagine that they would have
They have a
them
bye.
play. Well, yeah, or they would have them like play under the old. Like if they were still in negotiations and they weren't actually locked out, they could still have them play under the old CBA.
Oh, yeah, they could
right?
do that if they think they're close.
Yeah, which I would imagine would be the safest bet, probably.
I think
But-
that's probably right.
Yeah.
I think it's, because they don't want to strike and
Yeah.
or not play under a new deal. So if they're close, they will extend the CBA or play without one
Yeah.
for a short period of time.
What's up?
The only players that would be eligible for would be, and I don't even know if that's possible, but
Well,
they're
homegrown
homegrowns,
players
they're
are
not eligible
protected
for the
anyway.
expansion draft.
So
So
We'll be
Dylan
all right.
would be the only one who, and they're not going to protect him.
no.
So that's not a problem.
All right, last call for questions. Otherwise, we're out,
Yeah.
and we're going to have a really long week.
Yes. Everyone enjoy the festivities, assuming they announce when they are
Yeah.
and where they are. And yeah, we'll be about town.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be great. I'm
Yeah,
I'm
it should be
very
fun.
excited.
Should
I
be
think
very
it's going to
fun.
be a lot of fun.
Should we be done?
I think so.
Huh. All right. So we'll be back here next week. Rain or shine,
Yeah.
win or lose.
Yeah.
Fuck Monday Night Football. No one cares.
Yes.
Either way, we will be hungover as fuck.
That will likely. A lot of people have the day off, so
No.
we expect to see your smiling faces here next week.
Thanks for coming out. Shout out to the Berliner for hosting.
Thanks to Matt Pentz for coming and joining
Good
us.
job,
Thank
y'all.
you for having me. and
Thanks,
for-
Go
Matt.
buy his book if you haven't already.
Have a good night. Let's go ruin soccer.
Yes.